What?
All right, all set? It is 6:05 PM. I'm going to call to order a meeting of the Prudential Committee of the Katuitt Fire District. Apologize for the brief delay. We were conducting some signing. We can start by standing and pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll call the roll. Mark Lynch here. Seth Burdick present.
And Parks here.
Ray Perron here. Oh, you go here.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment from the audience or from the Zoom?
I see no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. The next item is meeting minutes. There should be 2 meetings.
There are 3.
Okay, can you go through those for us?
April 22nd, 2024. April 28th, 2024. And May 22nd, 2024.
Those would all be 2025, right?
No, they're all 3. She transcribed from current going back.
Okay, I have not reviewed those. Have anyone else reviewed those 3?
They came to us, didn't they?
Right.
To the best of my recollection, they seemed accurate. Being now a year old.
Yeah, I'm gonna like that. Start my recollection. Well, I have one from Gina say it's regarding April 28th, 2025. And that is not relating to meeting minutes. Okay, I'm going to start with the April 25th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The most recent ones that I've read were 25, 425, 25, 421, 25, 48, 25.
Hold on, let's stop at that. 4/21/25. I've read those as well. Do I have a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
Did.
We did.
At our previous meeting? You check the minutes. 519.
When was our last meeting?
What day was that? Can't follow back what day it was.
I have a meeting April 28th, 2025. Have we approved those meeting minutes? Can I get a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, I'm gonna set aside the 2024 for the time being.
So many.
Well, I think we are just about caught up, but we will revisit those at our last meeting. So by approving the April 28th, 2025 meetings, we have approved all meeting minutes in calendar year 2025, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And April 22nd, 24, April 28th, 24, and May 22nd, 2024 remain to be reviewed and approved. We will-
Correct.
We will do that at our next meeting. Next on our agenda is a report from the auditor.
Hello?
Tony, are you there?
Yep, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay, super. I can see you and I can hear you guys. So let's get started. So my name is Tony Roselli. I'm the managing partner for Roselli Clark and Associates. And we did the audit for the Katuitt Fire District for the year ended June 30, 24. And tonight we'll do the our exit presentation. So I don't know, Ray, did you provide my reports in the packet so people have it, or do you want me to just kind of?
I do, I don't know if we have it to put up on the screen.
Give me the letter or the.
No, the financials.
I can go through them in summary format, and then if you have questions, we can do that.
That would probably be easier than, trying to go through all the detail, Tony.
Okay. Okay, so the first report I wanted to go through was what's called the report to governance, which is you folks. So we're required to report annually, and the things we are required to address are, were there any significant audit matters like scope limitations, which there were none. There were no gap departures. There were no material weaknesses, and there were no disagreements with management. So those all worked out. We worked very well with Ray and his team to get the audits done. Secondly, we talk about just some observations that we have, and these are not so much findings; they're just kind of highlights of some of the things that I thought were important. So I put them in the items for governance, and then once we've gone through that, we'll go through the financial statements real quick. So, and there are no like internal control weaknesses also that I'm happy to report to you folks. So the three observations that we had were just to stay on top of network security. That's really important, especially if folks are working remote and whatnot. So just stay on top of that. Make sure everyone's trained. Make sure everyone's doing the right things. So keep up with that so that you don't get any surprises from the outside, because they're always trying to get in. Secondly, I wanted to talk about your OPEB liability. It's one of the highest in the it's your plan asset as a percentage of your liability is one of the highest in the Commonwealth of Mass, which is a great thing. So I congratulate you for that. Your assets represent 94% of your liability. So you're only exposed for 6%, where the average in the state is about 90%. So you're way, way, way ahead of everyone, and you're doing a really, really nice job on that. And the OPEB plan assets are earning some really good investment income to just keep it going. thirdly, in your regular cash, you've turned it into a revenue producing asset, which is very nice. Um, about, I think towards the end of 23, myself and Ray had a conversation about T-bills and CDs and what you could do. The Commonwealth has some tricky rules with respect to investments. And so we talked about it, and you've been basically maximizing your investment return. Let me see what you did for, for 24. Your interest income was $121,000, which is a nice amount of money. $121,000 in the general fund. The the OPEB earned another 282,000. So if you combine those, it's $400,000. It's a nice thing to get in the habit of doing. Um, Lastly, on this particular report, I just wanted to still highlight some challenges with a new administration in Washington. There are some differences in the way policies are being put into place that may cause some inflation. May cause the bond interest rates were going way up today. So if you're doing some sort of a borrowing, just keep monitoring that. Construction, if you're doing any sort of construction, those rates are going up. Energy's kind of stabilized and actually going down. So you'll see your price at the pump is lower and your price of energy is lower in all. But just keep an eye on that stuff. I know you folks don't rely on the federal government as much as like the town does for grants. But from what I understand, those grants may also be getting taken a look at and be some of those may be eliminated in the future. So again, just something to keep an eye on. Any questions on that report? That ends that report.
Everything he's reported has been exceptional.
We are in fact looking to borrow a significant amount of money on behalf of the fire department for the renovation of the firehouse. When you say kind of watch that carefully, I mean, any particular advice as to?
Well, the thing is, are you in the estimation stage of that? Like, are you how far down the road is that? Like, where do you stand with that right now?
I would say we are very far down the road, and Ray can probably much more specifically than I elucidate.
We're, if we can break it down into two major phases, Tony, we are almost midway, in fact, a little more than midway through the design phase, which is approximately 1.3 million, and we are financing that with a band. We will be going into the second phase, and that is the construction phase in the November, December, January timeframe. And at that point, we'll be looking at two different options. We are pursuing a USDA loan. And if that does not come through, we would look to a market loan. The advantage of the USDA loan is a 40-year amortization and a discounted interest. Right now, that interest for the fiscal year ending June is 4.2% versus 5.5% in the open market. As you just said, that may well change between now and the 5 months before we have to go back into that market. So we'll be monitoring that. We also are very skeptical of the USDA funding due to the things that you just mentioned, the changes in funding in Washington. But we will be we'll be pursuing both avenues and hopefully taking not hopefully, we'll take the most advantage one, and hopefully that will be the USDA one. But if that does not come through, we're prepared to go to market. Okay.
All right. So it's not that far off. So when you are doing your estimating, USDA is going to be more stable with their rate. The open market is fluctuating crazily every day. the 10-year bond, which is what your borrowing rate is going to be based off of, some algorithm of that, it was up to almost 4.6% today. So it's fluctuating a lot. The U.S. government has said they're going to step in if they see it running away and stop buying back some of those bonds and hopefully stabilizing things. I heard one of the Feds say today. But just keep an eye on, so when you're doing your forecast and you say, okay, this is what our interest cost is going to be, you may want to be conservative when you do that, just to make sure that if there is a surprise, and obviously we can't predict, I can't tell you if it's going to be 5.2 or if it's going to be 3.9. That's just not something I'm able to do right now. But just use some caution, because I've seen some towns get blindsided with a big increase in rate, a big increase in the construction cost, and then they have to go back to town meeting to get the project approved because everything exceeded the original approval. So when you do put together your package, yeah, just be cognizant of what's going on. Keep an eye on that. I'm sure you're working with somebody over at Unibank, I believe, Ray. Is it Unibank?
Hilltop,
Hilltop, yeah. So Hilltop's a great group. Yeah, I would keep, as you get closer to this, I would definitely keep in touch with them. They've done some really nice presentations for us and have told us, all about these things, and to be warning our clients that just keep an eye on that in case things do go beyond what you originally thought. So there's not much I can add there other than it's volatile, so just keep an eye on it.
Ray, I'm sure you can answer this, or Chief Brown, who is here as well. How long prior to actual breaking ground can we secure the loan?
how long,
How you say we're gonna start in
the construction phase will start fourth quarter or early first quarter.
when, and we obviously can't get the loan now.
No, we'll be
When
looking, we'll be
can
going
we
to,
get it?
the timing is, as I see it, we want to strive for the USDA loan approval in September. Absent that, we would be going to the open market in probably October or November, so that we have the funds available to start construction. Basically January 1st is probably a good point, Chief.
Good evening, Sean Brown, Fire Chief. Ideally, we're approaching a point where, assuming that the district votes in favor of this project, we would be able to start breaking ground somewhere in the October timeframe, right after the peak of the summer season. We don't want to interfere with the vibe and the essence of the village during the summer period. However, we will be ready to go as soon as possible.
And the reason we don't go into the market now is obviously we would be paying interest while not in the construction phase. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Still in doubt whether it will be
And,
approved. Not in doubt.
yeah, so.
The USDA
Assuming,
Well, I mean,
assuming
just
the
the whole
the
project.
approval.
Oh, no, obviously, we're all talking contingently.
Yeah.
Sean made that clear. If it gets approved.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go to the market. I mean, the lead time on going to the market is probably 4 weeks. And so you wouldn't want to start that now. You'd be starting that. I think we'll keep in touch about that construction, because I saw the 1,000,003 being expended through January. And the second phase starting up, the 5.4 million, starting up I think it was actually in December. But we'll stay in touch on that so that we're on the same page on that.
okay.
But,
The only reason we do that is if we were extremely concerned about possible rising interest rates.
yes, we're concerned about possible rising interest rates, and possible inflation.
But I
They're
mean,
working with a consultant on that.
okay. So it is My point was simply that you might be willing to pay the interest to lock it in, even before you were ready to begin construction, but you are on top of that.
Yeah, I would approach that cautiously, and I'll be bringing proposals to you.
Okay.
To the committee for their evaluation.
We'd have to be very worried about rising interest rates to do that, is the upshot.
Exactly.
All right, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
The other thing, if you do end up in the marketplace, you do have the luxury of Barnstable's AAA that you folks piggyback. So you'll have a AAA, bond rating that will go out to the marketplace. So that does work in your favor. And hopefully things do stabilize, but hope is a big word. So just keep an eye on it. I just wanted to throw it out there as a little warning flag, just to kind of keep on top of it, and stay in touch with Hilltop. They're very good, and if they sense something's going to happen, they'll tell you to lock. If they think something big's going to happen, they're going to say let's lock. You've got to do a little bit of work to avoid arbitrage. You can't keep a bond open too long. But you will, they will be great to advise you on that, if things start to get a little crazy. Okay,
We've had those kind of discussions already, Tony.
okay, super.
With Hilltop.
So this is
So
not a
you-
surprise.
You're spot on.
Okay, if we want to look at your financial statements real quick, the district carries a very healthy unassigned fund balance of 1.5 million. It's about 30% of your revenues, 25 to 30% of your revenues, which is a very good place to be. I believe they went up slightly. So you guys have kind of been walking that nice line. It's in a good place. 25% is a real is a good healthy reserve in case of emergencies or in case you need to dip into those. So that's nice. Your revenues came in at almost 5 million. Your expenses were 4.9, so you had about $100,000 operating surplus in the current year, which added to your unassigned fund balance. So pretty static operations with the prior year. You guys are a very consistent beast when it comes to that, which is what I like to see. And then we did talk about the OPEB, which sits at $2.4 million. Your OPEB fund balance, again, that's 94% of the liabilities. Doing a great job there. And Barnstable County's doing a nice job with the retirement system too that you folks belong to. They're up in the high 70s, mid 70s on their funding schedule, so they're doing a good job as well. Overall, that's a pretty good report, both financially and from a control standpoint. Like I said, no disagreements, no material weaknesses, pretty good internal controls, good financial position. So, myself and Ray talk many times throughout the year. If he gets stuck on something, he always asks for advice. We get it resolved so that it's not an issue at the end of the year. And I like to welcome my clients, all of them, to do that. So it's been a pretty good relationship. And with that, does anyone have any other questions? Because that concludes my comments.
Not me.
No, I'm all set.
We're all set. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me and have a great year. And if you have any questions on that bonding, Ray, by all means, shoot me an email, okay?
Thank you, Tony. I will.
Thanks. Talk to you guys.
Thank you. Ray, do we have a treasurer's report for this meeting?
I was late in getting it to Lisa. I can give you, I do have one.
You can share it on your screen if you want, but I'm duplicating display, so I can't open the email.
I sent it to you. You can't use that?
I can't open my email now because I'm sharing.
Oh,
it on
okay.
my screen. But you could share it if you have it on your computer.
Let me see if I can do that. But overall, I'll deal with the expenditure side first. And in every case, the expenditures are at or below budget as of the end of April. The revenue side is shows at the end of April that taxes were down about $112,000. However, on April 30th, we got approximately $500,000 of tax revenue, which, because it's April 30th, it didn't get to the bank, and we don't count things until they actually get to the bank. So I'm not really concerned about that shortfall. I think it will be clearly made up in the month of May. And that's usually typical with the tax bills going out or being due on May 1st. Looking at the water revenue, the water revenue is $328,000 above the target. In fact, they have exceeded the budget for the whole year at this point. So we see a very positive result there. The fire department is running ahead of budget. They're approximately $35,000 over budget target as of the end of April. And the other categories, including interest, is also $35,000 over budget target as of the end of April. The overall revenue is $258,000 ahead of the budget target, and expenditures are $379,000 ahead. That would suggest that adding the two together, we're on our way to about $600,000 of free cash for use next year. So overall, really,
Let me stop you there. On the one hand, that's very good news. On the other hand, or does that suggest maybe we should be tightening our budget projections a little more, or is that a healthy surplus that you're happy with seeing year after year, or should that be small?
no, I don't think it should be smaller. I think for a target, around $500,000 is a very good target for understating revenue and overstating expenditures. So that when you actually have the results, your actual revenue exceeded your conservative low estimates. And we do that. The water department is in the current budget has been estimated at 90% of what the water department projects as their revenue. Fire department has been frozen at about $250,000, and they're exceeding that right now. They're running at 244 with 2 months to go. So we try to anticipate more expenditures than we'll incur, and don't anticipate any revenue unless we're sure of it, and usually anticipate it lower than we expect.
Okay, so you're content with that $600,000 number as a cushion?
Yes, I would like it larger, but that's okay. I'm a Grinch, so
All right, I interrupted you. Go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
no, that's all right. So that looks like about 611,000 or so in potential free cash. Of course, the free cash is calculated in June, and there can be a few things that happen in the last 2 months of the year. One of the things that always gets in the way is unpaid taxes, which raises the taxes receivable, which is a deduct in free cash. I did not complete the cash reconciliations. I'm behind on that. I will have to forward that to you when I complete that over the next couple of weeks. I do know that our cash is adequate. We'll be getting the funding for the 1,000,009 band that you just signed for. We got that interest at 4% plus a $14,000 premium, which can be used for debt payment next year. So I thought the results that I had anticipated in the budget, of a 4.5% interest rate. And remember that I'm anticipating now that bill that we will pay actually next year. The funding that we will do in January or February will not be due until fiscal 27. So when Tony was saying you have to be very conservative, actually, we'll know the result of what we have to pay in fiscal 27 before we do the budget for fiscal 27, except for this last June ban. And that's where I have to guess at what that interest rate is. And last year, I didn't guess very well. This year, I guessed very well.
Okay,
Any
Questions?
questions?
questions for Ray?
No.
Okay, next on the agenda is the annual meeting. Which I put on as a placeholder. Do we have items that require discussion?
The only thing that I would suggest to the committee is we have not used any of the stabilization, which is a rainy day fund, requires 2/3 vote. But it is a way to offset what's going to be a large increase in the tax rate and taxes for the residents of Katuitt. Basically, $22,000 will reduce the tax rate by 1 penny. You have almost 600,000 plus in stabilization now, so there is adequate funds in stabilization to take some of that money to pay for either some of the debt, or I would strongly suggest for employee benefits. You could change in the script for that article to include not just raise and appropriate, but also raise and appropriate and or transfer from available funds.
Which article are we talking about here?
We're talking about article, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm
18,
chasing, is it 15?
18?
Yes, it's at Article 18, and right now we are using $316,000 of free cash, and the balance, 759,000 is raised and appropriate.
Hold on. We don't have the articles in front of you right now. Can you just read the article?
Yes. The article as proposed at the meeting will be, I move that the district vote to transfer and appropriate from free cash $316,000 and raise and appropriate the sum of $759,000 for a total of $1,75,444 for the purpose of paying employee current and post-employment benefits. So what I suggested is that you would have, you could
There.
On there.
turn it back up. the way it would be. Transfer and appropriate from free cash, 316,000. And from stabilization. What sum you determine to be prudent to add. And it would be in multiples of $22,000 to lower the tax rate.
And what would the total be? That you were proposing, they'd be in increments of 22,000.
I would suggest, there's two alternatives, $108,000 or $228,000, and it comes down to $108,000 would lower it 5 cents, and 228 would lower it 10 cents, 11 cents, excuse me.
Ray, can you turn around and explain the typo there? It's kind of hard to understand.
I've just eliminated that on this.
You have, oh,
Yes.
okay.
We've used stabilization in the past, and also in the past, we have put excess free cash into stabilization with the idea that it was a rainy day fund and could be used in cases where there was a spike in the tax rate.
And the reason for the tax and the spike rate is,
The school. The school adds 69 cents to the tax rate. Because it's all raised and appropriate.
and how would we do this? Just change the script?
Just change the script. Because as long as we stay under the 1,075,000, we have the option of, which is the total. That is what the warrant dictates. Charlie, correct me if I'm saying anything that is incorrect. So we can deduct from the raise and appropriate of 759,000. We can't add to it. So we could deduct from the 759,000 a sum that would come from the stabilization fund. So it would read,
This relates to the paying of employee current and post-employment benefits.
that's the medical insurance,
Yeah,
retirement.
I'm just struggling to understand how changing this would lower the overall tax rate.
It will lower the tax rate because the tax rate is predicated on the sum of raise and appropriate.
And this would be a
This would be
transfer
lowered,
associated.
right, and it would lower the raise and appropriate.
So the amount where we would be contributing to OPEB would be the same. The
Exactly,
source would be different.
exactly.
Now I'm tracking. Thoughts? Seth,
How
Fran?
long has it taken us to, over what period did we put all that? We average 35,000.
35,000.
Basis, right?
Yeah.
But then,
A couple of years ago, we put in, the unused portion of free cash.
right,
And I think that was 200.
uh,
I think that sticks in my mind, 200, maybe a little over 200, but it was in the 200 range. So we, if you will, picked up 4 years. We used some of it last year.
so 60, and it's it's in T-bills, that money? As it says, where do we keep the stabilization fund?
Stabilization fund is in CDs.
Yeah, earning 5%, 3%.
Well, now it's dropping down, but it was earning 4.5 now. I think the latest renewal was 3.8.
Yeah. And then the value so 69 cents is what represents the change for the school article per $1,000 in value, right? The average house is now
One-
700 or 1.2,
1,015,000.
so 1 million, so then. That's 1,000. So then that's $600. Sorry, I'm asking math questions.
I'm not running away.
That's it, that is even.
So you'd have 1,015 times,
So it's it would be a $913 savings per household at the average value.
yeah, but I would not recommend getting the whole 69 cents. out of
Right, we'd just be
savings.
talking about the three that is.
Yeah, I would go no more than 228 and would probably be more comfortable as a treasurer
Well, yeah, of course.
with 108. And the 108 kind of fits in the budget. We don't have the budget up to show you that.
My only thought, thinking from your miserly perspective, because you say you're a Grinch or a Scrooge, we hang on to the stabilization funds and just pass that tax increase along, meaning for this, the amount that would represent that 300,000.
Yeah, that's what we're set up to do now.
Yeah, do you
Um,
think it's better to try and shave it off the rate, just for the sake of it?
well, it's a Prudential decision. As a treasurer, I can tell you it will knock it down, a couple of cents.
Yeah,
And I would point out that it's pretty, ambitious increase in the taxes this year. And people are going to be taken back by it. I mean, the average house, is gonna see their tax bill, go up substantially.
What do you mean by
$1,200.
substantially?
Hmm?
$1,200 per
Yes.
household?
Per household.
just based on that one article. Then we made, well, I suppose, it's just a few cents, lessen the sting slightly.
And what's gonna be the effect of the fire station? The effect of the fire station?
Back to the fire station, next year is, just the interest on 1,000,003, which is 52,000.
And per household?
No, 52,000 total
No, I know, but I'm asking, and per household,
per household.
A tiny.
5 cents.
For $1,000 in value. And then the year past that. is
okay,
when
can
you'll
we,
start
can
to
we,
defer.
That's
let's,
when you're
let's,
gonna,
let's do apples and apples and oranges and oranges. What's the average home price? The number per,
1,015,000.
yes, and so you said it's $1,200 per household for the school. What is it for?
No, not $1,200 for the school. The taxes would be going up by, I can get it.
Let me stop
Those
you there.
taxes are going up overall right now with our current funding, $1,375 per house.
And that is for our entire budget.
The cost per house this year will be, or next year will be $2,658, as opposed to last year, $1,282. And a lot of caveats with that, because we don't know what the property taxes are going to go up. And we don't know what's the impact on the household is, but it is a good, consistent representation of what the impact would be.
Yeah, I mean. It's all driven by what amounts to what, a 20% increase based on that school demolition,
Yes,
because it represents 20% of our budget on the average year. So. What are you gonna do? I mean, we could spend stabilization funds and shave a little bit off. I think at this point, if it's an increase of 2,000, if it's an increase of 1,300 and whatever, $1,340 or $1,326. I think people are still gonna be mad.
375.
Yeah.
I was hiding that.
They're still gonna be mad if there's a few dollars less.
I think that's right. I mean, what would be the increase per household if we're able to borrow that money?
Be more akin to what it would be for this year's fire station increase.
Yeah.
The interest that it would be on that
Yeah.
1 if we paid $2 million. And so we're paying 50,000 on 1.5, then it'd be what, $65,000 in interest or something like that.
Yeah.
So it would be significantly less,
Significantly.
but we played this game before.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying that stabilization requires 2/3 vote. And that's why I think it would be more appropriate to do it in employee benefits rather than the school, because it does take 2/3 vote.
And also bear in mind that this is a one-time increase.
Yeah.
But they will be mirrored, but magnified. The following year, right? And we take on the interest for $18 million.
Yeah.
Which would be, if by the same order of magnitude. What's 50,000 times 18?
You'll be taking on, next year, we'll be taking on the interest for 5,000,004 and 1,000,003. All that times, let's just use 4%. That would be $268,000 versus,
Right, so we'll still be in better shape. So this will be.
Which will be per household, will
oh,
be,
that would be. the
I
total.
know, it's not per household. I'm asking you what it would be per household.
Give you that calculation.
This will work on that. Each one. $120 per.
So you're the accountant. You can do the math.
$120 per household increase.
30. Say 130.
$120 for the interest. I'm estimating the fire station interest next year. For the 1,000,003 and the 5,000,004 that we will be borrowing at 4% is $268,000. And in my model, I just deducted it to calculate what the difference would be. And it drops that increment from 1 million, or increases the increment from 1,375,000 to 1,495,000. And that's where I get the $120 per household.
Yeah, so basically, we're only gonna have 1 year where it's gonna be a shocking increase, and it will subside a little bit. But it will still be on the up generally. And then as it will increase by that same order of magnitude until complete for the next two, it'll be, that's then the following.
The following
We'll have
year,
another 5 or 7, 8,
10.
10. So then by that same,
and then it depends on what point you go to, your permanent financing.
right, and then we'll patch it all together.
And then when you go to your financing, you're starting to amortize the principal. And that gets back to the 30 years versus 40 years with the USDA.
So when you say the 1,375 per household increase next year is primarily because of the school, can you,
69, yeah, well, 69 cents is
how much of that? 90%, 80%?
7. 55% of the increase. Appears, that doesn't sound right.
It's gotta be higher than that, probably.
I think so.
Because our overall budget increase this year was. What, 20 some, or oh, 13%? More than 20, almost 20.
54%. That doesn't seem, that seems low, but. 1375.
At this point, there's nothing to be done about it, because this is, we cast the die.
Yeah, people are gonna ask questions, so I just want to have
50% of the increase is the school,
50.
50.
So would it be fair to say that the cost per household then for knocking down the school without borrowing would be half of 1,375?
So it's $700 per household. For average house.
But if they vote not to knock it down and want to give, because they're gonna ask us for money to rehab it.
I try to think about that, but that's almost an impossible question to answer, because how much funding were they going to provide if they're relying on the district to do the whole thing?
Yes,
When do you want to start construction? But it would be roughly the same scenario as the fire station. You would be borrowing short term while the construction is going on. And again, I think USDA, if you call it a community center, which we're not allowed to fund. How do I calculate that?
A little bit about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin.
That's what it's coming down to.
this would have been considerably less if we'd knocked it down 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Here's
Yeah.
that.
It would have been,
Well, so should we use stabilization money to pay for some of the? That was the original question, and then I went all over the place. Or to pay for some of the employee. The benefits.
Absolutely.
There you go, absolutely. Absolutely, Fran said it best.
but yes,
Yes,
then I would recommend $108,000. So we would rephrase the. Vote to transfer and appropriate from free cash and. Or do I combine that and say available funds? No, I don't.
No, you're gonna say it. And transfer and appropriate
And transfer and appropriate, okay.
from stabilization.
Skills are.
Time to go back to school. Appropriate.
Yeah. Oh, 651. Um, 1, 6, 1, 8. One, two, three. Six. One. All right,
You're doing better than I would.
one, seven, yeah. Yeah, I really like that.
She votes to transfer and appropriate from free cash, 300.
Hold on, if you could read it, but.
Oh, read it. I was reading it halfway to myself and halfway to you. I move that the district vote to transfer and appropriate from free cash $316,000 and transfer and appropriate from stabilization $108,000 and raise and appropriate the sum of $651,444 for a total of $1,075,444 for the purpose of paying employee current and post-employment.
Shouldn't there be a sum right there?
Yeah, there's some words that I,
You can tune it up. Or read it out loud.
transfer from free cash. You always have to say the sum on. Transfer and appropriate from free cash, 316, or do you have to say the sum on?
I think you could just say the amount.
Just the amount further, okay, and transfer and appropriate from stabilization. $308,000. And raise and appropriate. $651,000 for a total of $1,075 for the purpose of paying. Okay. Let's clean up English.
And what effect would that have on the discussion we're having right now, which is the cost per household of the school demolition? Should that be approved?
I'm just gonna. It's only gonna lower it by what, a couple of cents, wasn't it?
I think 5 cents.
Per 1,000.
Again, let's just compare apples to apples, so
All right,
instead of
I
being
forgot to do this. I'm sorry.
700 per household, it would be.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna get.
If it were a nickel per thousand, it's $60.
I'm probably going quicker than I am.
If it is a nickel, that. It's 1,200,000 is another 1.2 million, but that's a rough estimate, you know.
It reduces the bill per household. By $49.
Oh, close enough. I don't think that's gonna sell anyone on
Take it.
De minimis.
Let's try 228 and see what that does.
What do you mean, let's try 228, but, oh,
Transfer
transferring
220.
228.
Something other than $202. And
Reduces it by $100,
$2.
so it'd be around 60. Or I'm sorry, 600.
And, yeah, the bill then becomes 2,556 versus 2,658. So
Again,
you lowered it $100
not enough to make a difference.
and 49, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, how do we feel in general about increasing our OPEB contribution? We're in a pretty good shape.
Yeah.
According to the auditor.
That would be just, that would be $38, 38,000. We could drop that.
I'm sorry, 38,000, we could.
We are contributing to OPEB this year, 38,000. If we eliminated that 38,000, that would drop.
I don't want to eliminate that.
Yeah, it's not much. Compared
It's not that much and it's important to
Yeah, keep chipping away at that.
chipping away.
It's just gonna, we're just gonna have to do it this way, and then it's clear. Then rather than borrow the money, we're gonna use it, we're gonna pay it up front. This is the cost.
So what's that gonna leave us in the stabilization fund?
If we did the 100
228, it's gonna drop us down to just below 400. That's right.
$400?
4,000.
400,000.
which is pretty good still.
Pretty good.
Well, that's it, I guess.
Are we gonna vote to do that or? I think we need to, right? If we're gonna do it. Or,
Depends how we say it,
Yeah,
because because the warrant's already closed, but the amounts are all the same. But what we say on the night is what's important in terms of where it comes from.
Yeah.
Right?
yes, exactly.
So we just have to say it at the meeting. If we agree to change our script now, I don't think we have to vote on it. Because that, right,
Oh, yeah, you
should vote on it.
should vote on it because you're moving money out of stabilization. And that will require a 2/3
Vote
majority
at the meeting.
at the meeting. But I believe the Prudential should go on record as approving that. Because you say at the bottom, the Prudential Committee approves of this, so you,
yes. I would move to increase that amount to $288,000.
Need to speak up?
I would move to increase that number to $288,000.
we just discussed 228.
All of these. I would move that we increase that number to $228,000.
Second,
No, wait a minute, that's not stated properly.
Right, you would move that they take $228,000 from the stabilization
From
fund
stabilization for funding the,
for funding the employee benefits.
yeah,
as written, second.
All in favor?
Right,
Aye.
done.
Speaking of scripts, when will we be approving the scripts?
Well,
You don't have to approve the script. I mean, yeah, I mean, you probably should. I distributed it, but it will now change because of the change we just made. And I can distribute that and actually should probably decide who's going to say each one.
right, that's what we usually do,
That's
right?
what we usually
You do,
so we need to meet again to do that.
Hmm?
We need to meet again to
You
do.
can meet again to do that.
How many articles do we have on here? 1 through,
It's, one,
how many are specifically related to us?
oops, 24.
The water commissioners and fire commissioners have. So if we go to the top, I guess.
The fire department has basically 2, the water department has 5.
So we have 13. You said 22, then.
24,
24, yeah.
now, well, one of those, the citizens,
Right,
who articulates the citizens petition,
petitioner,
the petition.
Oh, they stand up, they stand up.
generally, right?
Yeah,
They present it.
the petitioner should articulate the,
Yes,
Okay, so we need to schedule another meeting.
Yeah.
Between now and the 28th. To review the scripts of the articles.
right, and, I'll just put in water, Chief, are you or Kevin gonna do the fire department? Kevin's gonna do the first part. I'm sorry.
Good evening.
Chief, Kevin is gonna do the first one on the station.
Yes, I believe the boards typically read their scripts. Yeah,
Okay.
so I would anticipate that it would be the chairman of the board. So,
Would you then do the operating budget, or would he do both?
I believe in the past it was the representative from the board typically.
Did both?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the 26th. That's Memorial Day. Oh, yeah, so it is.
We could just do it now, could we not?
I mean, that's what I'm wondering.
If you, well, I can read, I mean, depending on how you want to do it, I can read as many of them as you'd like. And then you can do half and I can do half. Fran, do you want to read me? I don't know if you want
Yeah, I think I'd be capable of reading
to.
some.
Okay. I don't know if you wanted to or not.
If we can review them now and avoid yet another meeting, I suggest that we do.
I mean, we've already seen, rather, we know what they say. If we take and break it up just by, so if Ray says that there's 24, right?
Mhm.
And then there's 7 that are there's 5 from the water commissioners and 2 from the fire department. Then that means how many? We have, what is that? 17
17.
more that we have to read, so.
Whatever it is, why don't we just go through right now, article by article.
Okay, and then I'll put the name in and circulate it.
I always I'm trying to move your mouse, but you have.
It doesn't, I'm old school.
Hey, Muddle.
Either that or,
So,
Lisa, can we project the articles
Yes.
and we can all look at them?
number 1 is reports. Then number
2 is the fire.
2 is fire station.
You want to do reports?
Sure, so I'll read
Okay.
Article 1. Then Kevin Conley is gonna read number 2. The number 3 is the demolition.
I'll do that.
Fran can read that one.
4 is public citizens,
That's the one the petitioner will read.
yeah,
Salaries of elected officials. You wanna read that one, Mark?
sure,
Reserve fund,
it's number 6,
yeah. I can read that one. We'll just go round robin. then.
okay,
And then finance department. That can be Fran.
that could be you,
Fire department, that'll be Kevin Conley.
wait,
That's
which
number
number?
8.
Okay,
Water department is number 9.
that'll
That's
be,
whomever, Scott Horsley or Dave Churbuck. whoever's the chair now. Water truck is number 10. That's Dave Sherlock again.
Yeah.
Grants, hardware, software, cybersecurity. That's
Believe
That's one
That's
that's
water.
water department.
That's Dave Sherlock. 20,000 for office HVAC,
That's water.
water,
And the next one is water. too.
water, that's the printer. 13,
Is also water.
yeah,
14,
Freedom Hall,
I'll do that.
Brandon,
15,
streetlights,
I'll do that.
library, I could do that one.
That's number
16.
16.
Who's doing 16?
Me,
Seth. Article
principal and
17,
interest.
principal and interest.
Who's back at the top? Is that Fran again, or I can?
Fran.
Fran, are you?
Am I doing 17?
You are.
17.
You're gonna do that, Fran?
Yeah.
That's the one we just discussed at length, Article 18. You wanna read that one?
Okay.
And then
19.
stabilization, I'll do that one.
Wait, that's 19?
Yeah. Twenty is water stabilization. Do they read that one? Does it matter?
It should be though.
Everybody's done?
It should be water. yeah.
That'll be David. And then the bylaws. Do you wanna read that one, Frank?
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's a total of 21.
21. That's that.
Anything else on the annual meeting?
Not that I can think of.
Is Jack Gardner still on?
Did you have, I couldn't hear you.
I said, is Jack Gardner still on?
No.
Okay.
Jack.
The next agenda item relates to the search for a new assistant treasurer. Ray, do we have anything to
I'm
report
embarrassed to
on?
report that, I was going on Indeed, and I found out that I really needed a unknown email address, and Secure Networks is setting that up for me, but it's not active yet.
Okay, when do we hope to get that posted?
I would say we'll get it posted tomorrow.
Okay. How long did you recently hired an assistant treasurer at West Barnstable, right?
Yes.
How long did that take?
We had 12 responses within a week. We had a problem scheduling the interview, so that took another week. And then, the woman who was coming on board was selected, had medical appointments. And so it was 3 weeks. And it might have been 4 weeks, because we used a consultant, and I'm not exactly sure when he posted it. I know about when he posted it, but not exactly.
Okay. All right. Time is wasting.
Streetlights?
Lisa, what's your date?
June 4th.
I would like to do it by June 4th, but I did provide 3 months, which is July 4th.
July 4th.
But that included training after you would hire.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Which is very much appreciated. All right, let's keep a close eye on that. You can just let me know.
I'll give you updates on how the, you get a lot of responses. I'll give you both the number of responses and
Quality,
and the good response.
okay.
Because out of that 12, I think it ended up 18, we ended up with 5 possibles, which I took down to, 2 people backed out. And our top candidate fortunately took it.
Okay, the next issue relates to, I got an email from a gentleman who was inquiring about adding a street light in front of his house at 797 Old Post Road. I haven't gotten one of these type of requests before. I do note that our bylaws indicate that we are to focus on intersections and hazardous or dangerous areas. 797 Old Post Road is, I've driven by there. I think Fran has driven by there as
It's in
well.
between Cordwood and Queensville.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know where on earth that is. It's
Yeah.
not far from Muir Road.
No,
Yeah, it's not an intersection. There is a curve there, but Old Post Road is
there's no
full
fire hydrant.
of, full of curve.
Are there any, how many streetlights are on Old Post Road? I haven't been down there in night, well, I don't even remember that.
Not a whole lot.
No,
There's one at, Little River Road.
yeah, just an
Because that's an
intersection.
intersection.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the next ones are, when you get down to, this one by Baxter Neck, I think.
Yeah, it would not be my recommendation to install another street light.
well, it's always been, we just generally don't.
We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, for the bylaws, there has to be something particular about
It doesn't meet any of the requirements, and, you know, they could certainly put a post light out in front of their driveway, because that's what it looks like they want it for, to show the driveway, I don't know. But no, and we don't install, streetlights in subdivisions because they don't have telephone poles,
Yeah.
because we don't.
yeah, this would not be in the subdivision, this would be on.
I know,
Old Post Road.
we don't own the telephone poles, so,
Yeah.
but there are telephone poles there, but one's kind of shaky.
Yeah, by there, you mean outside 797.
Yeah,
post,
yeah.
All right, then, I don't know if we need to take any kind of vote, or if we just concluded we're not gonna move forward on that.
I would make a motion to vote against, any, streetlights, at 797 Old Post or any place else on Old Post or in our district.
Is that a motion? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So can I report on the bylaw committee?
Yes, please.
The bylaw committee met, Friday. And, Amy Cates and Laura Opie and myself, the other 2, commissioners couldn't make it. So we generally reviewed the bylaws. Laura Opie wasn't aware of, the contents of it at all, so we reviewed it. And, we did have, I had a suggestion from a member of the public that, we should consider, the time that we start the, annual district meeting be changed from 7:30, which is kind of late. And, and make it earlier. I thought maybe looking at when other districts start their meeting, which I know, the district, the state, the town does theirs on weekends. So, and the other thing we discussed, that the bylaw committee and the policy advisory committee probably should have, meet twice a year. And one be specified that it's in the fall, and one be specified that it's late winter.
What's the logic for the timing of those 2 meetings? Just,
Well, I think it's easier, because they tend to get put off until, further along in the year. And, So I think, just whoever who's on it, you can do just a brief meeting sometime in the fall. And the second one, if it's needed, in late winter.
So did the bylaw committee, recommend those two changes or?
Well, we can't really because, I guess we could, but it's really past the time when we should have met. So we're recommending that the next bylaw committee, evaluate those suggestions.
Okay. Um, Both of them sound perfectly reasonable to me, but I think you're right. I think it's a little late in the game.
Yeah.
Is there anything to report about the policy advisory?
I'm the only
committee?
scofflaw that hasn't held the committee yet, and Lisa, can you help me post an agenda? And create and post an agenda and contact those people that are on this committee? Because if we posted a meeting, you could post a meeting, if you post an agenda tomorrow, I could have a meeting on Friday, right? Would that be possible? Would you consider helping me with that?
Do that.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning,
Yeah,
if you want.
I just need an agenda that says very generally, a meeting to discuss possible policies.
Could you email that to me?
Yes, I will. I'll do it when I get out of here.
So
Sorry.
you're the one that needs to contact the people, the committee.
Yes, I will. If I can remember who it is. Who is it?
Call Jack.
I say we abolish this committee. It was me.
On the one from last year.
I'll have to,
No, it's not gonna be on there. Jack, that announces it.
because he does it of his own volition. It was Larry Lloyd. I remember. I'll find out. Not your problem. This is my problem.
Just sign.
But if you would help me, I
This is
appreciate
for the, the June.
It does make sense to meet twice a year to avoid this. I mean, we really should. I mean, we will have obeyed the letter of the law, but, not in time to potentially put a proposal on. Okay, I believe that is everything on the written agenda. Any other items?
We have hands raised if you're moving on.
We haven't just yet, but I don't see any hand raised up here, so, I think it's time for public comment.
Patty Daly.
Go ahead, Patty.
Thank
can't
you.
hear you. There you go.
Yeah, it's difficult to hear you guys with the owl. So my only comment is last minute Friday night meetings are not the best way to get input from the village on bylaws or policy. Just suggesting that there's more thought put into that. Thank you.
Hey, any other hands?
I don't see any.
Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
My second,
All in favor?
aye. It is 7:28